I sit in Caleb Whitaker's law office, my black funeral dress still crisp despite being worn 3 days ago for Uncle Ben's service. The fabric scratches against my skin, a constant reminder of loss that matches the hollow feeling in my chest. Caleb adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses, shuffling papers with practiced precision. Sunlight streams through Venetian blinds, creating prison bar shadows across the polished mahogany conference table. As the sole beneficiary of Benjamin Thomas's estate, Caleb begins, his voice gentle but firm. You inherit approximately $1.8 million in liquid assets, a majority stake in Arcadia Home and Living valued at $14.9 million, and the Craftsman estate, conservatively appraised at $2.2 million. I nod mechanically, the numbers washing over me like cold water. Uncle Ben had prepared me for this, mentioning the business would be mine someday. But someday wasn't supposed to be at 26. Someday was supposed to be decades from now, after thousands more Sunday dinners and Christmas mornings with the only real parent I'd ever known. There are some additional personal items, Caleb continues, sliding a folder toward me. Your uncle's watch collection, his classic Thunderbird, and the conference room door swings open without a knock. I turn, expecting Caleb's secretary with more coffee. My heart stops. Grant and Nadine Thomas stand in the doorway, looking older but unmistakable. My father's once dark hair now salt and pepper, my mother's face lined but still beautiful in that distant way I remember from childhood. 16 years. 16 years since they left me with nothing but a hastily scrawled note. My hands begin to shake uncontrollably. The coffee cup rattles against its saucer, liquid sloshing dangerously close to the rim. My heartbeat becomes a physical presence, pounding in my ears like someone trying to break down a door. We heard about Benjamin's passing, Grant says, stepping forward with practiced sympathy dripping from every word. We're so sorry for your loss, honey. Honey. The endearment lands like a slap. My stomach twists, padding into the kitchen for breakfast, finding only empty coffee cups and a note propped against the sugar bowl. Uncle Ben will take care of you. Not even an I love you or we'll be back. Just 7 words, severing our family ties like they meant nothing. Then another memory surfaces, that first night with Uncle Ben and Iris. Warm soup despite the summer heat because Iris said it was good for the soul. Gentle hands braiding my hair before bed. Iris humming a lullaby her grandmother taught her. Uncle Ben reading Goodnight Moon even though I was too old for it because he found it on my bookshelf and thought it might comfort me. Something shifts inside me. The abandoned child who still inexplicably wants her parents' battles with the adult who knows better. My analytical mind begins to surface through the shock. What do you want? I ask, my voice steadier than I feel. My father smiles, the same smile he used when convincing customers to buy the extended warranty. We wanted to pay our respects, of course, and to see you. It's been too long. I need to process Uncle Ben's death before dealing with this, I say, making a small protective gesture between us. My first boundary, wobbly, but present. Grant's smile doesn't falter, but his eyes harden. Stella, we're family. We have every right to be here. We've been waiting to reconnect, Nadine adds, her voice soft and reasonable, and now seemed like the right time. The right time. Just after Uncle Ben died, just as I inherited everything he built, the realization hits me with stunning clarity. Everything Uncle Ben created for me is now at risk. These people, these strangers with familiar faces, didn't come back for me. They came back for what I now have. They stand there, calm and prepared while I'm grieving and shocked. The power imbalance couldn't be clearer. Mrs. Thomas, Caleb interjects, his professional demeanor firmly back in place. Perhaps we should schedule another meeting. Ms. Thomas is still processing her loss, and there are several estate matters requiring immediate attention. My parents exchange over Iris. Still keeping the help around, I see. Iris stiffens, but remains dignified. I've been part of this family for 16 years, Mr. Thomas. The emphasis on family speaks volumes. Something solidifies in my chest, the first spark of real resolve. I stand, gathering my purse in Uncle Ben's folder. Iris is family, I say, looking directly at my parents for the first time. You two are strangers. The words hang in the air, simple but powerful. I don't run for the door, but I do move to stand beside Iris, our shoulders nearly touching. A clear message. I won't face this alone. My father's expression hardens, but my mother actually flinches. Good. Let them feel something for once. We'll be in touch, Grant says, as if he's concluding a business meeting. I'm sure you will, I reply, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. As we walk toward the door, Iris's hand finds mine, giving it a quick squeeze. The silent support says what words cannot. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. On Sunday, I stand in Uncle Ben's kitchen, my kitchen now watching a pot of coffee brew while sunlight streams through the bay windows. 3 days have passed since the ambush at Caleb's office. 3 days of sleepless nights, jumping at every car that drives past the house, wondering if they'll show up again. The front doorbell chimes, answering my question. I don't need to check the peephole to know who's standing on the porch. The coffee machine beeps, but I leave it, moving toward the door with my heart hammering against my ribs. I pause, hand on the knob, breathing deeply the way Iris taught me as a child after nightmares. When I open the door, they're standing side by side, looking like an aging catalog couple. Grant in pressed khakis and a blue button-down, Nadine in a cream-colored cardigan and tailored slacks. They've aged 16 years since I last saw them, but they're unmistakable. Grant's square jaw, Nadine's delicate nose. The same features I see in the mirror every morning. You can't just show up here, I say, keeping my silence. Benjamin always had exquisite taste. I don't respond, leaning against the counter instead of joining them at the table, Uncle Ben's table, where he taught me algebra and business ethics and how to balance a checkbook. Grant takes a deliberate sip of coffee before placing a leather portfolio on the table. We've done our research. That business is worth nearly $15 million. The bluntness of it, the naked greed shouldn't surprise me, but it does. The thin veneer of parental concern already stripped away, and I keep my voice neutral. Nadine opens the portfolio, revealing pages of financial documents, spreadsheets, valuation reports, property assessments. We just want to understand the full picture, honey. Stop calling me honey. The words come out sharper than I intended. What is all this? Grant slides a document across the table. A complete financial analysis of your inheritance. The business, the liquid assets, the real estate, everything. I don't touch the paper. Where did you get this information? That's not important, Grant says. What matters is... It matters to me, I interrupt. You've been gone 16 years. Now you show up 3 days after Uncle Ben's funeral with detailed financial information about his estate? Nadine exchanges a glance with Grant. We tried contacting Benjamin many times over the years. For money, I say, the pieces suddenly clicking into place. You contacted him for money? Neither denies it. He never told me. The realization lands like a punch. Uncle Ben protected me from them, shielded me from their attempts at manipulation. Grant sighs, a practiced sound of exasperation. Your uncle painted a very one-sided picture of us, I'm sure. He didn't need to paint anything. You left a note saying Uncle Ben will take care of you and disappeared. That paints its own picture. Nadine reaches for her purse, removing a folder different from Grant's portfolio. There are things you don't understand, Stella. She slides it across the table. I hesitate, then open it. Inside are court documents, custody papers, legal statements, financial records. A shield he built around me. His occasional sadness, the distant look he would get sometimes while watching me open Christmas presents. It all makes sense now. You planned this timing, I say, the realization crystallizing. You waited for him to die. Grant straightens, abandoning pretense. We have problems, Stella. Serious problems. What kind of problems? I owe people, he admits. 85,000 to men who don't take excuses, Nadine adds. And I've been in treatment for depression. The medical bills. She trails off. 45,000 in credit card debt. So you're here because you need money within what, 60 days? I ask, connecting their urgency to their desperation. Grant looks surprised that I figured it out so quickly. We're still your parents, he says, leaning forward. Family helps family. Family doesn't abandon family, I counter. Family doesn't sell their child. We'll contest the will if necessary, Grant says, voice hardening. We have rights as your biological parents. I almost laugh. You signed away those rights for $13,000 in court. Legal details can be reinterpreted, he threatens. We had bad representation. The threat hangs in the air between us. These aren't just desperate people, they're dangerous. They have nothing left to lose, which makes them unpredictable. The fact that they're willing to destroy my peace after Uncle Ben's death proves they're formidable opponents. A floorboard creaks in the doorway. Iris stands there, her eyes taking in the scene, the documents scattered across the table, my rigid posture, my parents' desperate expressions. I think that's enough for today, she says quietly but firmly. Grant glances at her dismissively. This is a family matter, Iris. Yes, it is, she replies, moving to stand beside me. And Stella is my family. My parents gather their documents, sensing they've pushed as far as they can today. At the door, Grant turns back. Think about what we said. We'll be in touch. After they leave, Iris guides me to the couch in the living room and didn't just leave me his money. He left me the tools to protect it. I arrive at Caleb's office early Monday morning, my leather portfolio clutched against my chest like a shield. The mahogany conference table is covered with neat stacks of manila folders, each labeled in Uncle Ben's meticulous handwriting. Caleb adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses, the morning sunlight catching on the lenses. Your uncle was nothing if not thorough, he says, sliding a folder toward me. These are private investigator reports dating from 2019 through 2023. Ben hired someone to document every contact attempt your parents made. My fingertips tingle as I flip through the pages. Photographs of Grant lurking outside Arcadia's flagship store. Transcripts of voicemails left on Ben's private line. Financial requests ranging from $5,000 to $75,000 for various emergencies. There's more, Caleb says, opening another folder. Audio recordings. Ben installed a special system after the first few encounters. He taps his computer keyboard and suddenly Grant's voice fills the room, lower and gruffer than I remember, but unmistakable. Listen, Benjamin, we both know you've got the money. If you don't help out your own brother, I'll cause problems for that precious business of yours. The girl doesn't need to know about this conversation. My stomach clenches. Play it again. Caleb obliges, and this time I focus on the background noises. Clinking glasses, muted conversations. That sounds like Charlie's Tavern. Uncle Ben never went there. They must have followed him somewhere else and cornered him. Another folder reveals medical emergency letters from my mother, each more desperate than the last. Hospital bills for conditions that, according to Ben's notes, were investigated and proven false. This is the most significant piece, Caleb says, his voice softening as he places a court document before me. A restraining order granted in 2021. Your uncle secured legal protection against their harassment. My eyes scan the document, absorbing the judge's assessment of repeated pattern of financial exploitation attempts and deliberate emotional manipulation. The timing, I say. Showroom floor, surrounded by carefully curated furniture displays that Uncle Ben spent decades perfecting. Polished oak dining tables, plush sectional sofas in warm earth tones, handcrafted bedroom sets built to last generations. When Grant and Nadine enter through the front doors, several customers turn to look. My parents are well dressed, as always. Grant in a charcoal suit that can't quite hide his thickening waistline. Nadine in a cream-colored dress that makes her appear younger than her years. I wait until they approach, deliberately positioning myself beside an antique desk that Ben restored himself. My fingers rest lightly on its surface, drawing strength from the connection. Thank you for coming, I say, my voice carrying just enough to be heard by nearby customers without seeming confrontational. I found Uncle Ben's files about you, all of them. Grant's confident stride falters almost imperceptibly. A flicker of something worry, anger, crosses his features before his salesman's smile returns. Stella, honey, I'm not sure what you think you found, but... The court orders, I interrupt, watching his eyes widen slightly. The restraining order from 2021, the documented harassment, the fake medical emergencies. Nadine steps forward, her perfume a cloud of expensive distraction. Those were desperate times. We've changed. You can't possibly understand what we were going through. I understand perfectly, I say, sliding a photocopied document from my portfolio. I found the check stub, $13,500. That's what you took to sign away your rights to me. The color drains from Nadine's face. A middle-aged couple browsing nearby stops pretending not to listen. You don't understand the context, Grant says, his voice dropping to an urgent whisper. We had debts, people threatening us. And I was worth $13,000. I keep my voice level, professional. This is a business negotiation now, not a family reunion. That's the price you put on your daughter years ago. For the first time, I see something genuine and close behind them. Only then do I allow my hands to tremble slightly, the adrenaline rush beginning to subside. Sarah, our store manager, approaches with an approving smile. Your uncle always said you were stronger than you knew. Other employees drift over, offering supportive comments and impressed glances. The middle-aged couple who witnessed the confrontation stops to shake my hand. That took courage, the woman says. Ben would have been proud. Outside in the parking lot, I find Iris waiting beside her modest blue sedan, her eyes scanning my face anxiously. They've gone, I assure her as I approach. For now, at least. Her smile blooms slowly, warming her entire face. He would be so proud, Miss Stella. So very proud. My phone buzzes with a text from Caleb. The court records are ironclad. You did well today. Standing in the afternoon sunlight, surrounded by the business Uncle Ben built and the people who actually care about me, I feel a strange mixture of triumph and caution. This victory, satisfying as it is, feels incomplete. Grant's parting words echo in my mind. This isn't over. I know better than to underestimate their desperation. They've had years to plan this approach, waiting for the perfect moment of vulnerability. Today, I pushed back effectively, but their retreat seems too easy, too temporary. The question now is whether to press my advantage immediately or prepare more thoroughly for what feels like an inevitable, larger battle. Uncle Ben always preached patience in business negotiations. The person who rushes reveals their weakness, he'd say. As Iris drives us home, I stare out the window at the familiar streets of the city Uncle Ben loved. The first real sense of control since his death settles over me, not erasing my grief but somehow making it more bearable. Iris, I say quietly, I think we need to be ready for something bigger. She nods, understanding without explanation. Mr. Ben's files might have more we haven't found yet. The chess game has only just begun. I've won. Caleb smiles faintly, and we have 6 months of medical evaluations proving otherwise. I've transformed his conference room into a command center. Documents spread systematically across the polished surface. Yellow legal pads filled with my notes flank both sides. Coffee cups stand like sentries at strategic intervals. This isn't emotional anymore, this is business. Uncle Ben never acted without complete information, I murmur, more to myself than to Caleb. I won't either. My phone buzzes with a text from Iris. Miss Stella, they drove past the house again, 3rd time today. Something cold settles in my stomach. The triumph from our store confrontation feels distant now, replaced by methodical preparation. My parents aren't just desperate, they're determined. We need to document everything, I tell Caleb, showing him the text. Every drive-by, every contact attempt, every person they speak to about me or the business. Caleb reaches for his legal pad. I'll draft a cease and desist order. It won't stop them, but it establishes a pattern of harassment if we need it later. I turn to Ben's business journals, studying his approach to hostile competition. He faced 3 takeover attempts during his career, navigating each with the same steady hand he used to braid my hair that first night after my parents left. His strategy was never about emotion. It was about preparation. They'll try to find weaknesses in the company, I say, flipping through incorporation documents, places where they could claim mismanagement or financial impropriety. Which is why we're conducting a full audit, Caleb responds, already underway. The hollow feeling that plagued me since Uncle Ben's death has transformed into something harder, more focused. This isn't just about protecting my inheritance anymore. It's about honoring how methodically Ben protected me for 16 years. Later that afternoon, Iris arrives with a file folder of her own. She places it on the table with careful precision, her fingers lingering on the edges. I kept track of things, she says quietly. Phone calls during Mr. Ben's illness, visitors who came by but never came in. Everything but don't engage beyond basic courtesy. By evening, we've established a network of watchers, store managers, warehouse staff, even delivery drivers, all alert for my parents' probing questions. Not to confront them, just to track them. To build our case without tipping our hand, I'm reviewing security footage from the warehouse when Caleb's phone rings. His expression darkens as the conversation progresses. "They've hired Martin Keene," he says after hanging up, the name landing with weight. My stomach drops. "The attorney who sued Uncle Ben's company in 2018? Caleb nods grimly. "The very same. He knows every vulnerability in the company's legal structure. Your parents have done their homework, Stella." I lean back in my chair, processing this new threat. They're not just desperate gamblers grasping at straws. They're strategic opponents with knowledge of our weaknesses. They're smarter than I gave them credit for, I say quietly. Caleb gathers documents into a neat stack. Intelligence without integrity is still beatable. I nod, turning back to Uncle Ben's business journals. My early victory at the store feels hollow now, a minor skirmish before the real battle. But Uncle Ben prepared for this moment for 16 years. And now, so will I. I adjust my reading glasses, squinting at the paperwork spread across Caleb's conference table. 4 days of strategic planning has transformed this once formal space into something resembling a war room. Yellow legal pads filled with notes sit beside color-coded folders. A whiteboard mounted on the wall displays a timeline of my parents' previous attempts to contact Uncle Ben, each incident meticulously documented with dates and outcomes. "The no contest clause is ironclad," Caleb says, sliding another document toward me. His silver hair catches the afternoon light streaming through the Venetian blinds. "Anyone contesting the will automatically forfeits any potential inheritance. Your uncle was explicit about that." I nod, tracing my finger along the paragraph in question. The language feels like Uncle Ben. Precise, thoughtful, leaving nothing to chance. What about the litigation trust? Fully funded and confirmed his mental clarity right up until the end. "Thank you, Iris." I take the portfolio, adding it to our growing arsenal of documentation. "Any word from the store managers?" "All financial records secured, just as you requested." "Mr. Johnson called to confirm the business stability reports are ready whenever you need them." I exhale slowly, mentally checking off another item on our list. We're not winning anything yet, just positioning our pieces on the board with careful precision. The store confrontation was satisfying, but ultimately just a skirmish. What we're preparing for now is war. "We're approaching this exactly as Ben would have wanted," Caleb remarks, his voice carrying a hint of approval, building a comprehensive defense before they can mount their next attack. Iris hovers near the doorway, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her cardigan, a nervous habit I've rarely seen from her. Something's bothering her. "Iris, what is it?" She hesitates, then steps fully into the room. "I was reviewing Mr. Ben's will again, and I noticed something I hadn't before." Her voice drops slightly. "He named me as the backup executor, in case anything should happen to you." The revelation hits me with unexpected force. Not because it's surprising Uncle Ben trusting Iris makes perfect sense, but because of what it means now. If my parents are targeting me and my inheritance, they might also target Iris. "Caleb, does this put Iris at risk?" My voice sharpens with concern. The attorney frowns thoughtfully. "It could. If they're researching Ben's estate planning thoroughly, they'll discover her role. They might try to discredit her or claim she influenced Ben's decisions." A cold feeling spreads through my chest. This isn't just about my inheritance anymore. It's about protecting someone I love, someone who's been more of a mother to me than Nadine ever was. "We need to expand our strategy," I say, standing up and pacing the length of the conference table. "Not just protecting the estate, but protecting Iris, too. I don't want to be additional trouble, Miss Dunn." With Uncle Ben. I pull employee reviews showing her consistent performance over 16 years. Each document becomes another brick in the wall we're building, not just around me, but around everyone I care about. By evening, the conference room table holds the complete scope of our defensive strategy. Financial records, witness statements, legal precedents, historical documentation, all organized and ready. Caleb reviews the final checklist, then looks up with quiet confidence. We're as ready as we can be. It's time. I glance at Iris, who stands by the window watching the sunset paint the Seattle skyline in shades of orange and gold. She turns, meeting my gaze with steady eyes that have witnessed 16 years of family history. Mr. Ben's plan is solid, she says softly. You have everything you need. Looking at the assembled documentation, the physical manifestation of Uncle Ben's foresight and our careful preparation, I feel a strange calm settling over me. The frightened woman who sat in this room a week ago has transformed into someone strategic, prepared, ready to protect what matters. Tomorrow will bring the confrontation we've been building toward, but tonight, surrounded by the fruits of our preparation, I know we're ready for whatever my parents throw at us next. The certified letter arrives Wednesday morning next week, its official stamp glaring up from the kitchen counter where Iris placed it. My fingers tremble slightly as I slide my thumb under the flap, tearing the paper with a sound that seems unnaturally loud in the quiet kitchen. Court summons, I announce, my voice steadier than I feel. They're contesting the will. Iris's spoon clatters against her coffee cup. After everything? I scan the dense legal language, my stomach tightening with each paragraph. They're claiming undue influence, that Uncle Ben wasn't of sound mind when he changed his will. The words feel like acid on my tongue, and they filed for a temporary injunction to freeze all assets, including the business, while the case is pending. The papers tremble in my hands. This isn't just about the money anymore. They're trying to take everything. The house, the edge. They can't possibly win, I whisper. No, but they can drag this out for months, Caleb's voice hardens, during which time the business operations could be severely restricted. That's what they're counting on, that you'll settle, rather than risk Arcadia's stability. After I hang up, I stare out the kitchen window at the garden. Uncle Ben lovingly tended every spring. The azaleas he planted the year I graduated college have just begun to bloom. They're vibrant pinks, a mockery of the coldness spreading through my chest. They've been watching us, I say to Iris, waiting for the perfect moment. The doorbell interrupts my thoughts. Through the sidelights, I glimpse a familiar news van parked at the curb. A reporter stands on my porch, microphone in hand. Perfect timing. I swing the door open before she can ring again. Miss Thomas? Her smile is professional, practiced. Catherine Ward, Kiro News. We're doing a story about the Thomas estate dispute. Would you comment on your parents' concerns about your ability to manage such a substantial business during this time of grief? My stomach drops. They've gone public. No comment, I say, closing the door firmly. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah at the Bellevue store. Reporters here asking employees about you. What should we say? Another text chimes from our operations manager. 2 customers canceled large orders this morning. Said they heard Arcadia might be changing ownership. I press my forehead against the cool wood of the door. Grant and Nadine aren't just fighting for assets. They're strategically undermining customer confidence, creating doubt about Arcadia's stability under my leadership. They've launched a PR campaign, I tell Iris, showing her the messages. They're positioning themselves as concerned parents worried about a grieving daughter making hasty decisions. That's despicable, Iris whispers, her normally kind face hardening. It's calculated, I reply, walking to Uncle Ben's study. And it's working. People are starting to question. I spend the next 4 hours on the phone with Caleb, implementing our countermeasures. Margaret has known me since I was 10. We need to be smarter, I say, gathering everyone around the table. They've been planning this for months, maybe years. We have 41 hours until that hearing. I distribute assignments with a calm that surprises even me. Sarah will coordinate employee testimonials. Caleb's team will prepare exhibits demonstrating Uncle Ben's consistent intent to leave me the business. Iris will contact Ben's doctors to testify about his mental clarity until the end. What about you? Caleb asks. I'm going to study every case Martin Keene has ever argued, I reply, and prepare for cross-examination. They'll try to paint me as emotionally unstable and financially inexperienced. As midnight approaches, only Iris remains, organizing witness statements into color-coded folders. She says gently, "So should you," I reply. but neither of us moves. The stakes are too high. Do you think we can win? I finally ask the question that's been haunting me. Iris looks up, her eyes fierce despite her exhaustion. They may have been planning this for years, but Ben was planning for this possibility longer. He knew exactly who they were and what they might try. She places her hand over mine. On Friday, we show them what real family looks like. My phone rings again, Caleb's number. Judge moved up the hearing, he says without greeting. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Martin filed for an emergency consideration, claiming urgent business matters require immediate resolution. My heart pounds. Can she do that? She can, and she did. We have less than 12 hours, Stella. I hang up and meet Iris's worried gaze. Tomorrow morning, I tell her. They've pushed up the timeline. They're trying to catch us unprepared, she says, already gathering the most critical documents. I know. I square my shoulders, feeling something hardening inside me. Not panic, determination. Call everyone. Tell them to bring whatever they have, finished or not. We'll work through the night. As Iris makes calls, I walk to Uncle Ben's study and stand before his portrait. His kind eyes see expensive tailoring. Nadine has opted for a conservative navy dress, her hair swept into a maternal bun that makes my stomach turn. They've positioned themselves as concerned parents, not greedy opportunists. The bailiff's voice cuts through the whispers. All rise. The Honorable Judge Eleanor Richardson presiding. The judge enters, her silver hair pulled back severely, reading glasses perched on her nose. Her eyes sweep the courtroom with practiced neutrality as she takes her seat. Be seated. We're here for emergency proceedings regarding the contested estate of Benjamin Thomas. She glances at the files before her. I understand this is a time-sensitive matter. Mr. Keene, you may present your case. Martin Keene rises, buttoning his suit jacket. His confident smile reminds me of a game show host, polished and practiced. Thank you, Your Honor. We stand before you today representing Grant and Nadine Thomas, the aunt and uncle of Stella Thomas, who have serious concerns about the disposition of Benjamin Thomas's estate. Uncle and aunt. The deliberate terminology makes my fingers curl into fists under the table. Caleb notices and gives an almost imperceptible headshake. Stay calm. Let them show their hand first. Benjamin Thomas's death was sudden and unexpected, Keene continues. He suffered from hypertension and had experienced several minor cardiac events in the months preceding his passing. During this vulnerable time, his niece, Miss Thomas, who lived with him and depended on him financially, was in a position to exert undue influence. The accusation hangs in the air. My heart pounds against my ribs, but I keep my face neutral, just as Caleb and I practiced. We have documented precedent in Carmichael versus Westbrook, where a caregiver relationship was found to create presumptive undue influence. Keene presents a stack of case law to the court clerk. We believe similar circumstances exist here and request temporary injunctive relief, freezing the estate assets until a full hearing can determine if Benjamin Thomas was of sound mind and free from coercion when making Miss Thomas his sole beneficiary. Like a thunderclap. Several heads in the gallery turn toward my parents. I have here notarized documentation that Grant and Nadine Thomas legally signed away their parental rights to Benjamin for the sum of $13,500 in 2009. Caleb slides the papers toward the judge. They have had no meaningful contact with their daughter until 3 days after Benjamin's death, when they suddenly appeared at the reading of his will. The judge's eyebrows lift as she examines the document. Mr. Keene, were you aware of this legal relinquishment of parental rights? Martin Keene's confident smile falters for the first time. Your Honor, my clients have freely admitted they made mistakes in the past. People change. Their concern now is genuine. Your Honor, Caleb continues, I also have court records showing that Benjamin Thomas had to file for protection against Grant and Nadine when they repeatedly attempted to extort money from him between 2019 and 2023. He produces another file. These include transcripts of threatening phone calls where Grant Thomas specifically mentioned causing problems for Arcadia Home and Living if financial demands weren't met. There is the granted restraining order from 2021 as well. The gallery breaks into whispers. Judge Richardson taps her gavel once, silencing the room. Additionally, Caleb says, I have an audio recording I'd like the court to hear. He nods to the clerk, who sets up a small speaker. Grant's voice fills the courtroom, tinny but unmistakable. Ben, you've got $15 million tied up in that business. What's $50,000 to you? If you don't help out your own brother, I'll have to consider other options. Stella's doing well at the company, isn't she? Would be a shame if something disrupted that. 5-port. Nadine's face has gone pale. Grant stares straight ahead, jaw tight. This recording was made 14 months ago, Caleb explains. When Benjamin was in perfect health, long before any cardiac issues, Benjamin documented every contact attempt specifically because he feared this day would come. The judge turns to Iris. Of pride in my business contributions. Sarah from the flagship store describes how Ben would tell customers, my niece picked that line herself. She's got the eye for what people really want in their homes. Throughout it all, my parents maintain their composed facade, though I notice Nadine's knuckles whitening as she grips her purse. Grant whispers urgently to Martin Keene, who looks increasingly uncomfortable. When all testimony concludes, Judge Richardson removes her glasses and surveys the courtroom. I've seen enough to make a determination regarding the emergency petition. The request for injunctive relief is denied. She turns her penetrating gaze toward my parents. Furthermore, I find the timing and nature of this petition highly suspect. The will contains a no contest clause, which is enforceable under state law. By bringing this action, the petitioners have triggered that clause and forfeited any potential claim they might otherwise have had. The relief floods through me like warm water. Iris squeezes my hand so tightly it almost hurts. Additionally, the judge continues, I am ordering the petitioners to pay all legal costs associated with this emergency hearing. She peers over her glasses directly at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Thomas, this court will not be used as a tool for harassment or attempted extortion. Based on the documentation presented today, I am issuing a restraining order, prohibiting you from coming within 1,000 feet of Stella Thomas, her residence, or any Arcadia home and living property. Grant's composure finally cracks. His face flushes red, a vein pulsing at his temple. This is outrageous, he starts, but Martin Keene places a restraining hand on his arm. Any further contact in violation of this order will result in contempt charges, Judge Richardson warns. This case is dismissed. The gavel strikes with finality. People rise around us. Several courthouse observers nod approvingly in my direction. The deputy approaches my parents with restraining order paperwork. Grant's shoulders slump as he signs. His earlier confidence evaporated. It's over, Caleb says quietly. They have no further. Loyalty isn't about blood. It's about showing up, day after day, year after year. A small crowd of store employees waits at the bottom of the steps, breaking into applause as we approach. In their faces, I see the community Uncle Ben built the true legacy he left behind. I am no longer the abandoned child, or even just the grieving niece. I am the guardian of everything. Ben valued the business he built, the people he employed, and the family he chose. My shoulders straighten with the responsibility and the privilege of carrying his legacy forward. And for the first time since his death, I know with absolute certainty that I am equal to the task. I stand at the podium, fingertips resting lightly on polished wood, looking out at a sea of faces. 6 months since the courtroom victory, and the transformation still catches me off guard sometimes. Arcadia Home and Living was built on one simple principle. I say into the microphone, voice steady where it once might have trembled, that quality matters in our products, in our service, and most importantly, in our relationships. The Seattle Business Journal's annual award ceremony buzzes with quiet energy. 300 of the city's most influential business leaders fill the ballroom, and not one of them makes me doubt myself anymore. The Crystal Community Leadership Award catches the light beside me, Ben's legacy made tangible. In the front row, Iris beams, her silver-streaked hair elegantly styled for the occasion. Beside her, Caleb adjusts his glasses, offering a small nod of approval. My true family, bound by choice rather than blood. My uncle taught me that integrity in business mirrors integrity in life. I continue, and when Arcadia opens its Tacoma location next month, we'll bring that same commitment to a new community. The memory of those chaotic days after my parents' return feels distant now. The newspaper articles about the court case line my office drawer, not as a reminder of pain, but of strength. Local business hire wins decisive victory, read the headlines. The coverage validated what Ben had always told me. The truth when explaining how her brother was pressuring her to share our upcoming product line with competitors. The parallel wasn't lost on me. When people face impossible family pressures, I'd told her then, they deserve more than sympathy. They deserve protection. Caleb drafted a cease and desist the same day. Iris took Margaret for coffee and shared stories of Ben's unwavering boundaries. Security installed new protocols to protect our design files. The systematic support I provided felt nothing like my own panicked reaction months before. Sleep comes easily now. Morning coffee on the porch has become a quiet celebration rather than a jumpy waiting game. The business thrives, revenue up 23%, employee satisfaction at record levels. But these external markers pale beside the internal shift. I no longer wonder if I'm of what Ben built. I know I am. The foundation has already helped 3 individuals successfully defend their boundaries. I continue at the podium. People just like our own employees who face impossible choices between loyalty and self-protection. In the audience, Thomas Reynolds nods appreciatively. As our youngest department manager, he benefited from the foundation's legal support when his parents attempted to access his newly established investment accounts. The look of relief on his face when I promised company resources still warms my heart. Iris Pruitt will serve as the foundation's program director, I announce, watching her straighten with pride. Her official role as a state manager and family advisory board member has formalized what she's always been the heart of our unconventional family. Nobody understands better how to help people find their chosen families. After the ceremony, Caleb approaches with champagne flutes. His retainer has been enhanced, making him our permanent legal advisor. Another anchor in the storm. Ben would be proud, he says simply. He prepared me for this, I reply. I just didn't know it at the time. The business center buzzes around us, but my thoughts drift to that first night after my parents left me. Iris braiding my hair, Ben reading Goodnight Moon. They chose me before I could choose them. Now I honor that she's no longer driving my decisions. Instead, she informs my compassion. The evening breeze carries the scent of Iris's garden through the open window. Tomorrow brings board meetings, foundation work, and interview preparations for the Tacoma store. But tonight, in this quiet moment, I acknowledge the journey. When people show you who they are, believe them, and then choose who deserves your loyalty. Not a lesson I wanted to learn twice, but one I'll never forget. Family isn't who shares your blood, it's who shares your values. Ben knew that. Now I do too.